Imagine closing your eyes and picturing your own daughter vanishing without a trace. Days turn into weeks, then months. You search everywhere, beg for help, but authorities seem slow or indifferent. Unbeknownst to you, she is trapped in a nightmare, trafficked, rented out like property to wealthy and influential men who pay for her abuse. She endures manipulation, control, violence, and isolation, convinced escape is impossible. Someone profits from her suffering while she loses pieces of herself every day. This scenario terrifies any parent. It is not fiction. It mirrors the lived experiences of survivors of Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking network. These women and girls were groomed, exploited, and trafficked starting as young as 14 or 15. Epstein, a wealthy financier with connections to powerful figures in politics, business, royalty, and entertainment, built an operation that lured vulnerable minors with promises of money, modeling opportunities, or education. Once ensnared, they faced repeated sexual abuse at his properties in New York, Florida, New Mexico, Paris, and his private island in the U.S., Virgin Islands. Ghislaine Maxwell, his longtime associate, was convicted in 2020 of recruiting and trafficking minors for him. She's serving a 20-year sentence. Epstein died by suicide in 2019 while awaiting federal trial on sex trafficking charges. Survivors, like those who came forward, many anonymously at first, described being paid to recruit others, creating a pyramid of exploitation. They were flown on Epstein's private plane, known as the Lolita Express, to locations where abuse occurred. Victims reported hidden cameras in rooms, suggesting blackmail material. The scale was massive. Court documents and investigations indicate dozens, possibly hundreds, of minors were harmed over decades. The justice system failed these survivors repeatedly. In 2008, Epstein secured a controversial non-prosecution agreement in Florida, serving only 13 months with work release despite evidence of widespread abuse. This deal, criticized for shielding co-conspirators, left many victims without full accountability. It took renewed pressure from journalists, survivors, and public outcry to reopen federal charges in 2019. In 2026, developments continue but fall short for many. The Justice Department released millions of pages of Epstein files under the Epstein Files Transparency Act, including FBI interviews, emails, and memos. Some documents detail allegations against high-profile individuals, though many deny wrongdoing, and no new major criminal charges have resulted from these releases. Survivors have criticized the process. Redactions were inconsistent, with some victims' names and personal details exposed unintentionally or otherwise, causing re-traumatization and safety concerns. Advocacy groups and UN experts have called these disclosures flawed, arguing they undermine accountability by failing to fully protect victims while shielding perpetrators. Survivors attended President Trump's State of the Union address in February 2026 as guests of Democratic lawmakers. They aimed to highlight ongoing demands for transparency and prosecution. Figures like Haley Robson, Jess Michaels, and others spoke out, emphasizing that the fight is about exposing a two-tiered justice system where the powerful evade consequences. House Oversight Committee hearings featured testimony, including from Maxwell, who invoked her Fifth Amendment rights. Subpoenas targeted Attorney General Pam Bondi over file handling, with bipartisan calls for answers on withheld documents. Financial remedies exist but feel inadequate to many. Epstein's estate established a victims' compensation fund in 2020, paying out over $121 million to around 150 claimants before pausing. In 2026, a class action settlement against estate executors reached up to $35 million, pending final approval, for claims they aided trafficking. Additional settlements, like one with J.P. Morgan Chase for $290 million over alleged enabling, provided payouts. Yet survivors stress money cannot erase trauma. True justice requires prosecuting enablers and ending impunity. International probes add pressure. Countries like Poland investigate potential Russian intelligence links to Epstein's network. Former associates faced fallout, resignations, arrests, and lost titles. Still, survivors report institutional gaslighting, delays, partial releases, and reluctance to broaden investigations. UN human rights experts urged full disclosure, comprehensive reparations, and ending protections for the wealthy and connected. The core issue remains. Sex trafficking thrives when systems prioritize power over people. Survivors deserve more than settlements or partial file drops. They need swift prosecutions, robust victim protections, expanded statutes of limitations, and societal refusal to normalize exploitation. If this happened to your daughter, sister, or friend, you would demand every detail exposed, every perpetrator held accountable. No exceptions based on wealth or status. These women showed extraordinary courage by speaking despite threats, stigma, and disbelief. Their voices forced reopenings, convictions, and reforms, yet many feel the system still protects criminals over victims. The Epstein case exposes how trafficking networks rely on silence, connections, and failures in law enforcement. Change requires public pressure, better funding for anti-trafficking efforts, and accountability at every level. Survivors continue advocating through organizations, speaking publicly, and supporting others. Their resilience inspires broader fights against exploitation. No child should endure what they did. Justice delayed is justice denied, but their persistence proves truth can prevail when people refuse to look away. Please feel free to follow, subscribe, comment, like, and share. This helps you to stay connected to me, and it helps me to remain here creating more content for you. Thank you, love always, Maria DC Santiago.